Name is Bra Willy Seyama, CEO of Initiate, a marketing productivity agency here on Joburg Pulse Radio. We stream live on joburg.org.za. On Twitter, we are at Joburg Pulse _ and on Facebook, we are Joburg Pulse, 2 words. Our WhatsApp line is 0812486568. I'm standing in for TK on this show called the TechTalk. We cover everything tech and AI, if you like. We've been together since 2 o'clock. We will be together until the top of the hour at 4 o'clock. In this show that is themed, how are people using large language models such as ChatGPT, and where are the opportunities for increased productivity going forward? Assuming obviously that we're using these models for productivity purposes, whether this is for personal reasons or for work reasons, but the assumption is that we're using them for productivity. We've covered 2 segments thus far. We started with the top 3 to 5 AI news and trends. The second segment, which we've just covered, was on the tool or tools that I am experimenting with and or learning at the moment. I've indicated in that case that the tool that I've been busy with for the last 2 weeks or so is Google Notebook LM, with a specific focus on their voice feature that you can use to generate podcasts, because I write, something that I prefer as opposed to talking. So I take my written articles and turn them into podcasts using this very platform. It's a free platform by Google called Notebook LM Voice. And an hour before I came online, I discovered a tool that turns a podcast into a video. That tool is called Pictory.ai, Pictory.ai, Pictory.ai. I used it to basically add video elements to my 11th podcast that I generated yesterday. I'm rather excited about it. Now let's talk about the last segment, which essentially is the theme of today. 2 weeks ago, no, actually it was last week, OpenAI shared some very interesting stats on how we use ChatGPT. You may or may not know, ChatGPT is the most used large language model to date. A good 70 to 80% of us, a number that is estimated to have come to 350 million users in August alone. 350 million users. The bulk of us are using ChatGPT in this sense. This is a graph which I will try and unpack and interpret for you. Top 5 uses of ChatGPT to date are marketing, that's the first one, and closely linked to it, analysis. A further a distant third is engineering. Number 4 is for IT purposes, and the last one in the top 5 is product, anything that is product related. Okay, so the top 5 uses of ChatGPT are first marketing, then analytics, then engineering related topics, then IT, and lastly product. And then the rest of the uses. There's quite a few of them. I've picked on the top 5. And by and large, marketing and analytics are leading by a sizable margin. When I say marketing, think generation of scripts, think generation of content, think generation of images, think brainstorming of marketing related topics, think strategy. So it's mainly around strategy and content that is marketing related. Analytics is exactly that, analyzing the various forms of data. Those are the leading ones. And with analytics, it can be analysis of the marketing campaigns themselves, or it can be analysis of all sorts of other things, including financial performance of a company and so on and so on. But suffice to say, marketing is leading. I did make mention whilst covering the one of the two previous segments. I did make mention, actually the very first segments where I shared the first 3 to 5 AI news and trends, that OpenAI O1, which is the latest of models by OpenAI. Which model is the latest in the series? It was released to the public as a preview, as they call them, something close to a beta version. It was released on the 12th of September. Okay, and I indicated that this model is not seeing a huge uptake. Why? And by the way, this model is distinctive because it's a reasoning model that is able to handle complex tasks and more technical type tasks, engineering, STEM related tasks, maths type tasks. It's able to handle them much better because it takes its time to reason before it responds to our prompts. Okay, unlike is the reason with GPT-4o as an example. Okay, now and I covered the uses of this model, not the uses, but really gave a lot more information about this model last week, including the fact that one of the reasons why this model is great for technical, more complex tasks is because it takes the time to think through using what they call chain of thought. It thinks through in a chain format. It checks itself. It reinforces the thinking process before it gives a response to any particular task. Now, because this model is used, it's specialized to more complex, more technical tasks, the take-up hasn't been quite as high as GPT-4o. The GPT-4o version is what powers the current ChatGPT platform as we know it. Okay. When GPT-4o was introduced, which was around between March and May this year, when it was introduced, the take-up for it was very quick, it was very rapid, and it was very high. But it hasn't been the case with OpenAI O1. And the reason there is because GPT-4o is more a general model, while OpenAI O1 is more a specialized model. Now, take what I've just said and as a backdrop, and think of these uses that I've indicated. The uses are first, marketing; secondly, analytics; third, engineering; fourth, IT; and last, product. Product can be anything. You're testing ideas for product you're brainstorming ideas around a product, things that may include the logo, things that may include the name of the product, the features of the product, and all those sorts of things. So when you look at these top 5 uses of ChatGPT, okay, the leading one may not involve tasks that require that you use OpenAI o1. The leading one, which is marketing, would be more akin to using GPT-4o model, because generally the tasks are not too technical, the tasks may not be too complex, versus engineering and IT that are much more specialized, more complex, more technical tasks, type topics. And analytics is it lies somewhere in between. It can be more for 4o, it can be for OpenAI o1 model. But I suspect that people would tend to use it more for 4o, even though if I were to be doing more of analytics, I'd be using OpenAI o1 because of the element of accuracy that this new model provides versus 4o. It is much more thorough. It uses logical thinking a lot more, and this is the one aspect that you need in analytics more so than the case of marketing, which leans more on the creative side of things as opposed to the technical side of things, as it were. So it explains. I'm kind of rambling on to make the point, and the point is, it explains why OpenAI o1 hasn't seen huge take-up. It's because the current uses of ChatGPT lean more towards marketing than they do the technical side of things. Yes, combined, when you look at the top 5 uses combined, there is an element of more the technical side of things, because when you join engineering and IT alone, it's a fair share. So a kind of back of the matchbox type calcs. If you take marketing and product, okay, they make anything in the region of 60% of the uses of ChatGPT, okay? The rest is analytics, engineering, and IT. Remember, analytics can fall within the OpenAI o1 territory, more specialized, more technical, more complex. But analytics can also fall within the territory of GPT-4o, more the creative side of things. Let's think of wider use cases for analytics than the specialized use cases for analytics, as it were. So that is why I suspect that the take-up hasn't been that great. Okay. So I've answered part A of the theme, which is, what are we using ChatGPT for as a proxy of large language models at the moment? It's more for marketing purposes, followed by analytics, then engineering, IT, and lastly product. Those are the leading top 5 by a fair margin. The question is, what is the potential going forward that will give us an element of productivity? As I indicated, this graph that I'm looking at now, that I'm trying to interpret to you, because I'm not doing this on video, was shared with the world by OpenAI in one of their presentations at a forum that was put together by HubSpot. They then went further to say, what should the uses be if we look at marketing alone? So essentially then I suspect that they're saying, yeah, we're using this for marketing mainly, but maybe for one thing, and it should be something else, or for one thing, but it should be more than just that one thing. So they share 5 kind of recommendations under marketing. They say, they're saying, okay, we recommend that you use it first for research, secondly for analysis, thirdly for content generation, fourth for automation and coding, and last for thinking. So let's take some while and go through these. I have a sense, having spoken to a few people, that we are not using large language models for research to the same extent that we should. Neither are we using these large language models for data analysis to the same extent that we should, but we're certainly using them to a large extent for content generation. We're hardly using them for automation and coding, certainly not within the marketing arena as we should. We're hardly using them for thinking to the same extent that we could. Thinking involves things like brainstorming. Okay? So OpenAI is saying to us, if you are to get the best benefit out of the likes of ChatGPT, here are the things that we recommend you use it for mainly in this order. First, research, then data analysis, then content generation, then automation and coding, then thinking. Okay, so those are the 4 buckets of uses that they recommend we must be using large language models for. Now, remember, there are 2 parts to the theme. The one part is, what are we using them for? I've covered it, hopefully sufficiently. The second part is, what are these productivity opportunities going forward? OpenAI have told us more or less what are those productivity opportunities going forward. My sense is, though, these are going to move around. These plates, these tiles, these 5 tiles: research, data analysis, content generation, automation and coding, and lastly thinking. They may be moving around. It may, though, at the same time be dependent on who is using these models. I'll tell you how I use them. Of the 5, research comes first, definitely. Increasingly data analysis. To some extent, content generation. I'm saying some extent because the content generation that I tend to embark on, there's a fair percentage of me generating that content, especially when it comes to articles that I generate on LinkedIn. Okay, I write, and then I use Perplexity as my co-pilot to test my thoughts, my own hypotheses, to test the titles. I also use Perplexity to then rank, my articles. I've got a specific set of metrics that I get Perplexity to rank me on. Let me rattle that for you quickly. And by the way, when it comes to this specific ranking, I don't use Perplexity alone. Partly because there are times when I run out of my of the token. So in that case, I'm forced to go and use the other platforms. In this case, the likes of Claude. But here I just wanted to give you an understanding of the other uses that I tend to put these models through. After writing my articles, I then come back to these models and say, okay, rank my article. I've written the bulk of it, but I've used the generative AI tools to generate things like the images, and in some cases the short clips and whatnot. But the bulk of the article, I've generated it myself. So here's a ranking that I use the models for. I'd say to it, okay, I've written my article, here it is. Rank it on readability, vocabulary density, originality of insights, depth of analysis, engaging storytelling, stickability, structure of the article, flow. That's number 8. Number 9 would be relevance to target audience. 10th is actionability. 11th is balance of technical and accessible language. 12th is use of supporting elements. The last one is call to action. Okay, so there's 13 things that I then ask these models to rank my articles on. Let me rattle through them. 1, readability. 2, vocabulary density. 3, originality of insights. 4, depth of analysis. 5, engaging storytelling. 6, stickability. 7, structure of the article. 8, the flow. 9, relevance of target audience, relevance to target audience. 10, actionability. 11, balance of technical and accessible language. 12, use of supporting elements, and lastly the 13th one is call to action. That's how I use the models, because as I said, I do generate these articles myself, because I write them as subject matter expert articles. Okay, they are not just articles that may not have depth in them. I make sure that I give them a depth, and in that case, I don't trust that these models will be able to write with a level of density and detail that I write with. Okay. I'll give you a quick example then. On the basis of the very last article that I wrote, where I was analyzing the richness and the variety of the podcasts that I had created. Okay, the article, which is published on LinkedIn, you can check it out. This article is titled Deep Dive. Google Notebook LM is not perfect, but is worth it. So after writing this article, I put it on Claude, and I said, okay, rank rank me across these 13 metrics. It said readability 8 out of 10, vocabulary density 7 out of 10, originality of insights 8 out of 10, depth of analysis 9 out of 10, engaging storytelling 7 out of 10, stickability 8 out of 10, flow, okay, 7 out of 10, relevance to target audience 9 out of 10, actionability 7 out of 10, balance of technical and accessible language 8 out of 10, use of supporting elements 6 out of 10, and lastly call to action only 5 out of 10. So call to action was the least ranking of the metrics. The second least ranking was the use of supporting elements. I want to achieve 8 out of 10 and above. So anything that's below 8 out of 10 in terms of the metrics, I pay attention to that to understand what is it that I need to do to improve it. So an example with the least ranking one, which is call to action, which happens to be the last one. Here's the feedback that I got from Claude. It says the article provides valuable info but lacks a clear call to action for readers. Consider what you want readers to do after reading your article. E.g., try Notebook LM Voice, follow you for more insights, share their own experiences, yada yada yada. Okay, so it doesn't only give me a ranking for this particular metrics, which happens to be the last metrics in that order. It also recommends what I can do to improve that particular metrics, which in this case is a call to action effectiveness metrics. Okay, and so it goes with the rest of the metrics. I hope it made sense in terms of how I use these models. As I said, OpenAI is recommending those 5 things in that order that we can do to really up our productivity game in our use of ChatGPT. I've also shared with you, as part of this last segment, how we are using these tools at the moment, with the proxy being ChatGPT, and it makes sense because it is the most used of them all. I'm hoping that you've gained something out of today's show. Certainly the intention is to use this show to help improve specifically AI literacy in South Africa. I haven't even spoken to this, but let me do so quickly now that we have 1 minute before the show ends. It is my intention to contribute in any small way towards improving AI literacy in South Africa, and certainly on the continent, on the African continent, as it were. The reason being, the AU, the African Union, have indicated that AI will help to double the economy of this continent by 2035, from where it is today, which is around $3 trillion, to $6 trillion by 2035. For us to be able to do so, it will take quite a lot of doing in terms of educating the African community of roughly 1.4 billion people to really embrace AI and be able to use it as such. That's the end of me. Hoping that you enjoyed today's show. It is now 4 o'clock. I am handing over to the next slot. Cheers.
You know what time it is? Make some noise! The TechTalk.